Martin, Stephan, welcome to Who's Saving the Planet. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you for joining us. You were talking to Lex about where you are right now for our listeners at home. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Clermont-Ferrand, which is a town in the center of France where the volcanoes are and where also the international tire company Michelin is headquartered. So it's 200 kilometers west of Lyon.
Interesting.
That is interesting. And I have to give a plug to our recent podcast guest who started a company in the UK called the Tire Collective that has built these things that fits on the back of tires to collect microplastics that are being shed from the tires as they are driven and we are ingesting, which is just to say, if you could knock on the Michelin company door and let them know that the future is coming, we would appreciate that.
Okay, I will. Yeah, we have close relationship with Michelin. Yeah.
Exactly,
Okay.
because you also are working in the field of plastics.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been really excited about this episode because, well, one, like we said before we hit record, this is a very complicated issue. It goes over a lot of people's heads because you can get very technical. And one thing that's great about Martin is that you have this really wonderful way of really simplifying it for folks. And the problem is, most people know, uh, plastic is piling up all over the world. I think something like 12,000 metric tons are being stored in our environment and in landfills, and that's an ongoing problem. And Martin has devised a way to solve this problem. And Martin, why don't you take it from there? Tell us who you are and what Carbios is and what it's doing to get rid of all this plastic waste.
Yes, sure. So I am the deputy CEO of Carbios. I joined the company 3.5 years ago. Carbios is a French company listed on the French stock market. We are the first and only company to have developed biological technologies for the end of life of plastics. That's what we do. Plastics are not a problem. Plastics are a solution. And that's why 350 metric tons of plastics are produced every year in the world. It's because they bring a lot of solution. They bring value to the society. They bring value in packaging. They bring value in automotive, in construction, in electronics, in a lot of different applications. Problem are plastic waste. We have not thought enough about the end of life of plastics. And that's what led to the creation of Carbios and to the development of our technologies is what can we bring to the world to solve this solution of plastics pollution, the real end of life of plastics? Because today you have some technologies here and there to recycle plastic, to reuse plastics, but not really for the end of life of those plastics. And that's what we bring. We bring a solution for the end of life of plastic. And I hope, and I'm sure we will contribute to reducing the plastics pollution, which is estimated to be approximately the best number we see right now, according to research, is 9 million metric tons in the oceans every year. It's just unacceptable. So there is a global need of a huge effort to tackle this plastics pollution issue without mentioning what is incinerated, without mentioning what is landfilled.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how did the genesis of this company unfold? Was it because you realized that there was an opportunity here from a business case, or was it born of this problem that you mentioned that we are drowning in a sea of plastic, or was it a combination of the two?
It's a little bit a combination of the two. So I think we were right in advance, because if you look at the market opportunity, it really arose, I must say. My view is that it started beginning of 2018, where really the world started to realize this plastics pollution issue, and the big brand owners, the big FMCGs companies in food and beverage, cosmetic, household, they tried to make pledges using more and more recycled plastic in the future in their packaging, which triggered a very virtuous behavior from the entire value chain, plastics value chain. But it was in 2018. Carbios started its life in 2011, so far before that. And the idea at that time was we found some patents not really exploited. And we thought those patents had a lot of potential. It was patents around the use of enzymes, because that's, you will discover that's what we do, to degrade plastics. And our CEO had the idea to expand that technology to the recycling of plastics, not only the degradation, but as the recycling as well. And we launched in 2012 a very ambitious R&D collaborative program to develop those technologies around this first initial patent, which of course we expanded a lot. And we have now 34 families of patents around those two technologies. And yeah, we developed technologies for two types today of polyesters. PLA, polylactic acid first, to degrade PLA in natural conditions. And the other technology is how to recycle PET, which is probably a bigger market. But again, the real market opportunity became visible, according to my view, in 2018. I often cite the speech of the CEO of Coca-Cola, beginning of 2018, commenting the 2017 financials, and the title of his speech was "A World Without Waste." It was very inspirational, and again, it triggered a lot of good behaviors in the entire value chain of plastics.
This was the Coca-Cola CEO?
Correct.
Okay, so, yeah, go ahead, Lex.
We touch on we have the opportunity to speak to a lot of people that are tackling this problem from a lot of different angles. And so I'm really curious to dig into the science of how you have developed a solution for this. But before we do that, I think we should touch on just recycling in general, because it's kind of a hot button issue where we think of recycling. We all grew up with the reduce, reuse, recycle mantra. And that's proven to be less than accurate in terms of actually understanding what happens to the plastics. So perhaps could you give us an overview of what the current situation is with recycling, where those challenges lie, and how that system has been either misleading or broken, or how it is insufficient?
Well, it's not broken. Huh? I think it's good. It exists. It is there. At least it's a beginning. But it's more reuse than recycling. If you look at the current technologies to recycle PET, the plastics which is used to make bottles, for example, it's relatively simple technology where you grind the bottle, you melt the flakes of bottle, and then you make pellets, and with those pellets you make bottles again.
Yeah.
You might
it's
say
like those machines outside the supermarket that my mother used to go to.
Oh,
They give you a little change afterwards.
It's fantastic. It is fantastic, but it's limited. It's only, you can do that 6-7 times, not more. Because over time, the quality degrades. Your polymer, which is a long chain of the same molecule, repeated thousands of times, reduces, and then it becomes less and less accurate to make a bottle. The mechanical properties of your material degrades. So you cannot do that infinitely. You do that 6-7 times. So it's good again, because you optimize the use of your material. But it is not a solution for the end of life of the material, because at the end of its life, when it is not good enough to make a bottle, it will end up at the best as a backsheet for carpet, or incinerated or landfilled.
And that process also sounds like it's quite energy intensive. So it's something that requires...
It's not that energy intensive. No. It's okay. It's okay. Compared with the process to make virgin PET, it's probably half the energy. It's half the CO2. That's the best estimate,
Right. And we use a lot of petrochemicals to make a fair amount of these plastics to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if that's the world that we're living in now, which seems very rudimentary, we're grinding things up and then making them again.
But you know, that's the same for glass, for example. Huh?
Yeah. Glass is a huge problem.
Yeah, we often think, no, glass is a wonderful material, but we often think that glass, you can recycle glass infinitely. It's not true. You can recycle glass 30 times.
30 times, that's it?
Yeah.